Okay, and we are live for Paisley Burger PB Betting College Football episode 10 already. Mr. Paisley, double digits. Here we are recapping week 8, preview for week 9. We have bets and parlays at the end of the show. Great to be back another week, Mr. Paisley.
Yeah, episode 10. It's crazy. We don't want to thank the fans here for getting us to episode 10. Couldn't have done it without them, but yeah, another week of football, ready to dive in and get some nice predictions and picks ready to go.
Absolutely. Thanks to Whitaker Media for hosting us so far this year, and everybody from Uncle Lou's SEC page there on YouTube. We appreciate all you guys. We see your DMs and your comments, and our views have certainly gone up. So, yeah, appreciate all that. So might as well get right into it, Jared. Another 550% week. I think this is becoming a pattern, to say the least, which, I guess could be worse, could be better, but we're still up. I mean, overall on units, we're up on locks. We're 56% there, which is good. 14-14 last week. A lot of green there, though, Jared, on the right side of the screen. I don't know if you see that. I believe they were my picks last week, but
I was at your picks. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
That's okay though. No, 14-14, 106 and 106 through 212 games. I mean, it makes you wonder that, why are we even doing this? We could just pick 2 or 3 games, call it for the entire season, and we'd have the same result. But that's okay. It's a lot of fun each week. We're picked a lot of games, gave a lot of analysis, and here we are sitting at 50%, over halfway through the season. Locks did not hit last week. I had Alabama. We'll get to them, but did not cover, to say the least, did not win. And then you also had the over in the Georgia-Texas game that did not hit. So unfortunate on the locks, Paisley, but what are your thoughts here? Another slate in and 212 games in and sitting at 50%.
Yeah, it's funny how it works out. All the picks, all the things get right at 50%. Can't even make that up. I'll take the blame this week slightly for the overall 500 record. Case definitely did your part, crushing it with all the games there. Just couldn't get the lock, and myself couldn't get the lock. It's always disappointing, but hopefully he took a lot of Casey's green picks that he has highlighted there.
Hope so.
Also, just disclaimer, was a rough weekend for me in real life with my real money that I bet. We bet on these games ourselves in real life, so when we lose on the page, it's not just on the page, it's in real life too. So tough one, but looking to bounce back this week.
Yeah. A lot of games, opportunity to bounce back. And finally I had a decent week, 9-4. I had a couple, it seems like I'm either below 500 or above 500. And then it just always evens out to 50% through the 9 weeks or whatever we're through now, eight weeks. So that's our slate. Enough with that. We might as well just jump right into, the week 8 recap. Start things off Friday night. Jared, this was a good one. Thrilling game. Oklahoma State, BYU, undefeated BYU, driver's seat of the Big 12. Were really on the ropes. Took a lot of things to go their way. They survive at the end. I think they scored with like 10 seconds or maybe a little bit more left. Not much. Outlasting Oklahoma State 38-35. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, crazy game. Was a little late on the West Coast, late Friday nights. If you stayed up for it, it was definitely worth it. I had a little chunk change on Oklahoma State, +10, a little scary taking them after how they looked all year, but they were covering the whole game, kind of leading the whole game, and then kind of let it slip in the final moments. So, yeah, BYU a little fortunate to get the win there. I think Oklahoma State really came in. They had a quarterback change. They went from a more pocket passer to a mobile quarterback, which is something we'll discuss maybe a little bit later, and BYU had a little trouble defending that. It was the first time they saw the Oklahoma State quarterback change all year, but kind of gave them a little life, reinvigorated the offense a little bit. So Oklahoma State definitely should have won that game. A little tough to see if you're an Oklahoma State backer, but BYU again scratches out another victory and keeps the undefeated season alive.
Yeah, Oklahoma State too, falling at 0-4 in the Big 12. They were a preseason, pick of some around the country. It was tough. I mean, Big 12, we knew was going to be wide open, and we knew this could happen. But Oklahoma State certainly disappointing this season, falling to below 500 overall, 3-4, 0-4 in the Big 12, and complete opposite for BYU, who's kind of exceeding all of their expectations. They kind of remind me, I hate to even say this, but a little bit of TCU when they made their playoff run. I mean, I don't think they're that good as TCU was, but let's not forget TCU escaped a lot of games. They had that, I'll never forget that Baylor game where they had to rush the kicker on with 10 seconds left, and they were on the ropes really a few times, and a lot of people said they should have lost a couple of games, and maybe they should have, but they got in the playoff. They upset Michigan, and they were well on their way for a shot before they got absolutely steamrolled in that national championship, which was predictable. But big win for BYU to stay unbeaten, but certainly, like you said, on the ropes, probably should escape that one. I'm not sure they should have won that.
Yeah, good call on the TCU team. That's right. And that was a team that they just kept defying odds makers' expectations every week. Like, people kept betting against TCU every game. They went undefeated, got against Michigan. People were they bet Michigan. And then it finally caught up to them in the last game of the year. So, evens out. Maybe it might be the last game of the year, but it came to fruition. They were definitely outmatched against that Georgia team. But, yeah, BYU got a big one this week on the road against UCF. So if they want to keep any Big 12 hopes alive, got to keep the winning streak going.
Yeah, got to knock that one. Got to get the win there. And I was one of those people, too, betting against TCU a few years ago. I'll say that every week. Anyway. On to the Saturday games. There was not a lot of other action, I guess. On Friday night, we had Duke beat Florida State. No surprise there. Florida State falling to 1-6. I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. What a disaster they've been. But anyway, on to Saturday. Also ACC, just like Florida State, Duke. Miami getting bailed out by the refs again, Jared. Louisville, they beat Louisville 52-45. This was just another weird game. Miami, I still don't have a great read on them. They're escaping at times. They're winning games, but just ugly games. I mean, they didn't have a problem scoring, I guess, this past week like they did, kind of against Virginia Tech maybe. I mean, they still, their offense hasn't been a huge problem, but maybe their defense is what we need to look at here. I'm giving up 45 to Louisville. With assistance from the refs, for sure. I mean, some questionable calls, just a chaotic game, and they do escape, similar to BYU there, 52-45. Miami also remains unbeaten.
Yeah, probably not a good thing if we're talking about a team this much in this light with crazy games and with crazy finishes, some controversial calls. So getting a lot of luck going their way, when is it going to run out? But I mean, they had the bye week. We thought they could maybe refresh a little bit and then, maybe get back to normal. Nope, goes right back to a crazy game, kind of like a tennis match. It was just back and forth, touchdown, just trading blows. So, late call with a fumble. Then they ruled it a fumble on the field with Cam Ward, and they overturned it to an incomplete pass, which was a little dicey, and you thought they would just go with the call on the field. So, once again, for the third game in a row for Miami, the refs kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. So just a little interesting there for Miami. But yeah, I think you're right. We got to look at this defense. We know Cam Ward in the offense could put up points, got a lot of talent on that side. But gosh, this defense, if you're going to score 40, 50 consistently, are you going to be able to do that against some of these top teams in the playoff or an ACC championship game? That's going to be tough to do. So like you said, Miami keeps winning, but you can have your doubts. So got to keep a close eye on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of, again, I don't want to say I was against Miami, but I know preseason I refuse to pick them to win the ACC just because I feel like we get that same old Miami loss at some point. And I know a couple of times they were close already. They keep scraping by, and their schedule's very favorable for them. So, I mean, I think it's very likely at this point that it will be them and Clemson in the ACC. I don't know if you agree with that, but I mean, they are winning games. I think, they'll be there, but man, I don't know. Very, very questionable at times. I would not be stunned if we sit at one of these weeks, possibly, in the near future, and talk about what went wrong for Miami, because it just seems like they're getting very, very too close for comfort.
Sure. Could have easily been 3 losses. And how would we look at this team if they were 4-3 or whatever their record might be with 3 losses? So you got to keep that in the back of your mind. They did win the games. Got to give them credit, but yeah, I mean, they're literally coming down to 1 or 2 plays, and that's just some high variance, very luck drawn, close calls and stuff. And just to mention the ACC, keep your eye out for SMU. They're starting to play a little bit better. Yeah. They have an easy schedule as well. They do not play Miami or Clemson. So the 3 teams at the top, Miami, Clemson and SMU do not play each other the rest of the way, so it could be some crazy tiebreakers out there. But SMU, everybody was kind of down on when they lost to BYU. Now we see BYU is actually pretty solid. So don't forget about SMU. They're actually a pretty solid team. It should be a fun race in the ACC. But yeah, Miami, I mean, when is going to catch up with them?
Yeah, no, SMU. Glad you brought up SMU too, because we don't really have them outlined here. SMU is going to be an interesting team to watch, and yeah, good point. The early loss to BYU, and now all of a sudden, I mean, imagine they win that game. SMU might be where BYU is. I mean, they might be right up there, top of the rankings and in the driver's seat here, the Big 12. And as we said, it's a wide open conference. Anything could really happen. And ACC. But anyway, yeah, SMU. Real shot to make some noise there in the ACC. Still can't get used to that here 10 weeks in with SMU.
Yeah, it's so weird. Maybe next year.
It's such a weird thing to think about. But, yeah, will be fun to watch here through the rest of the year with them. Let's see on the list. Indiana, clearly, I don't know. They might be for real. I was back and forth on Indiana for a little bit. I know they were a former Burger winner of the week, but very impressive win, 56-7 over Nebraska. I was on Nebraska with the points. I think you were. Most of the people were, and I think that should have been red flag number one because at home, sold out stadium, they just absolutely blew out Nebraska. Nebraska was never in this game. Maybe the first couple of drives when it was close, but Indiana, when they went up like 21-7 or 21-0, maybe it was, and I mean, clearly superior, eye test, more physical. I mean, they just shut Nebraska down. Raiola couldn't do anything. And Indiana played with a backup quarterback for a majority of that game. O'Rourke, it might have been the first half. It was either first half or early second half. And I was thinking, oh, this could get interesting. That did not even cause a hiccup in the way they were running their offense. So, a lot of credit there to Indiana. Very impressive win over Nebraska, 56-7.
Yeah, Indiana is impressing, like probably the best team in the country. I mean, from how you thought they were going to be beginning of the year, you thought, okay, they're going to be good. We were buyers on them. They're exceeding that expectation. I mean, some people are talking playoffs now for them. Who would have thought in the first year? I mean, just the quick turnaround. We talk about some of these coaches that obviously you need time. You need time to get your recruits in, get your system, get your culture in. And then he's doing it the first game, first year, first couple games. Like, this is crazy to see. So, yeah, I think we were texting during this game, and I texted you. I'm like, we should have known when everybody was betting. I did not see one person pick Indiana in this game, and that was a red flag. So, yeah, definitely something I was a little shaky going in. It would have been a bigger bet, but I kind of pulled back a little bit. In that game, it was over in the first 3 drives of the game when Indiana scored, Nebraska didn't, Indiana scored again. It was 14-0. It's like, yep, this is over. And then, yeah, the injury to the quarterback, Rourke, who's having a great year from the MAC. Shout out the MAC from Ohio. Having a great year, injures the thumb. He's going to be out a couple weeks, it looks like. They got a tough one against Washington. We won't break that game down, but it'll be a sneaky spot. That was a huge win, like we talked about. Big emotional, big new kickoff was there. Not to say Indiana's going to be an upset alert, but now you got a Washington team coming in with your backup quarterback who looked good, like you said, against Nebraska, but could be an interesting spot now. The spotlight's kind of off of them now. Let's see how they handle this week. Laying again like 6.5, 6. So going to be I'll keep a side eye on that one. But yeah, Indiana just mauling these teams. Like, it's not even close. Like, they are just blowing them out of the water. So Nebraska, every time we think Nebraska could, keep it close, be back in a big game, they fall flat in their face. So every time Nebraska in a big game, just stay away for the future. And I'll be doing that myself.
Yeah, I think I've said that about Nebraska every year since I've been betting. So, I mean, I just never learned. But, 56-7. And, yeah, Indiana, I mean, unbeaten. They have Washington, like you said, with the backup quarterback. So I'm not going to just chalk that up as a win because that could be we've seen what Washington can do. They got the big win, over Michigan. They're still a decent program there. They got to go to Michigan State. So they're playing decent. So I don't want to count these as guaranteed wins. But I will say Indiana is going to be the favorite in those games. They might be in the favorite here every game, other than obviously at Ohio State. So very real scenario. They could be 11-1, and I don't know what that's going to look like in the national landscape. With an SEC team 11-1, or an SEC. What happens when you get Alabama or Tennessee at 10-2 versus an 11-1 Indiana with that schedule? Like, it's going to be an interesting scenario, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And even with the Fighting Irish there. I mean, if they end up one loss, how does that shake up against Indiana 11-1? I mean, Indiana would have one good loss to Ohio State, while Notre Dame would have one bad loss to Northern Illinois, but a lot of impressive wins. So a lot could happen. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch here in the last 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, just one more point. I think I was looking at some theories or some scenarios that might happen at the end of the year that people are trying to project. It's going to be 1,000 times crazier than what it was for the 14 playoff. There's going to be so many more scenarios, so many more. Like you said, 11-1 versus 10-2.
Yeah.
How do you weight that versus conferences and stuff? And then, throw Notre Dame in, who's actually playing better. We thought was not going to be close after that loss. NIU still have a lot of work to do. But, just some crazy scenarios. We're going to have like a 3-hour podcast on the selection day. That's going to be
honestly
crazy debate.
You should do something for selection day. We could talk about that a little later. But, that'll be an insane week. I mean, leading up to.
And big one against Ohio State. And just a little caveat, we'll break that game down when it gets to it. But it's the game right before Michigan, the last game of the year for Ohio State. So we know that game's been circled trying to beat Michigan for years now. So Indiana could kind of catch them at a good spot. The Ward will probably be well rested and out by that time. He'll probably be back in the lineup there. So, I think Indiana's for real. You got to take them for real. And I can't wait to see what the number is going to be against Ohio State. And that should be a good one.
Yeah, and real quick too, I texted you that scenario, which is it's unlikely, but if Illinois were to upset Oregon, pretty heavy underdog this week. But if they were to upset Oregon, there's a real statistical chance that you could have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Illinois, and Indiana all 11-1. It's unlikely, and we just like to. That's what we do. We like to look at the schedules and look at the hypothetical, speculate what could happen. But that would be incredible. I hope it does happen. Really, obviously, I'd love Penn State to be unbeaten, but I think I would take a 5-way 11-1 with Indiana and Illinois over a 12-0, just because it would be great. I mean, it would just be absolute chaos.
Illinois, Indiana, Big Ten championship. Who would have thought that? Maybe.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how that would play out with the tiebreakers, but just. I want to note that just in case the 1 in 1,000 it happens, I want to record this and throw it out on the internet. So.
Get DK to put some odds on that. Get DraftKings to put some odds on that.
We could put odds on it. The Paisley Burger plus 1,000. Send us your money and we'll do it. Just kidding. It's not licensed. Anyway, all right. So one of the games of the week wasn't Georgia, Texas, but Alabama, Tennessee this past weekend in Knoxville. Great place, Jared. We were there last year. Wish it could have been an atmosphere like it was this past weekend when we were there. But nonetheless, Tennessee, big win. But, I mean, ugly game. I mean, not a lot of great football, a lot of turnovers in this game. It seemed at times that team, both teams were trying to lose. I always say that when I watch NFL Sunday and I watch Bears games. I'm always like, it looks like both teams are trying to lose this game. This Alabama-Tennessee was a fun game to watch as an entertainment perspective, but it wasn't that Alabama-Tennessee a few years ago with, Hendon Hooker there and Tennessee gets the huge win, 52-49, two real good teams. This was kind of an ugly game and not good for Alabama. You're sitting now with 2 losses. When's the last time they've had 2 losses before November 1st? I've seen that talking point a lot this week. Just disappointing. Alabama could not do anything late in this game, and Tennessee just did enough to score and get the win. But I'm not sure I love really either of these teams. Win for both of them, really, but Tennessee comes out on top.
Yeah, I think ugly is the best way to describe this game. Oh, my God, there was a lot of open receivers in the first half being missed, mostly on the Tennessee side. I mean, Nico could not hit the broadside of the barn. Like, it was crazy, all the opportunities he was missing. Jalen Milroe just looked like he never played quarterback before. After that first drive when they went down, it looked pretty good. So, just an absolute ugly game. You were just waiting for one of these offenses to just click and get going, and it really didn't until maybe Tennessee in that last drive of the game. So you had a huge dry spell from like halfway through the first quarter to the end of the game. So, if you had the under, great ticket. But just an ugly, ugly game for both sides. You don't feel great about both teams here, but, got to give credit to, I think, the Tennessee defense in general. Really played better, a lot better than our expectations going into the year, kind of kept this game within range with their offense being so inept at home. And, I thought Alabama should have been more – thought they should have been up more at halftime and then you just don't feel comfortable with that lead. And then what happens? Tennessee scrapes by with a victory. So, yeah, just a tough game for Alabama. I don't know what happened to that offense. They looked so good against Georgia, who's a lot better. We just saw Georgia stun Texas. So some of these results are kind of mind-boggling. It's so hard sometimes to handicap this stuff, especially this year in college football. So, yeah, I don't know how Alabama looks so good early on in the year offensively, and now their defense is stepping up, and now the offense can't get going with Kalen DeBoer at the head coaching spot. So a lot of questions in Tuscaloosa. That was a tough one to lose for them.
Did you see the 4th and 1 when Alabama went for it, didn't get it? It was like a quarterback sneak, and the two wideouts did the fake basket. I don't know what that was. That was just hard to watch. And then their coordinator. That's what I saw. I was like, this would never happen under Saban, and it really got me thinking. I don't know. I wanted to believe that Alabama wouldn't really skip a beat here without Nick Saban. I mean, I think Nick Saban's a great coach, one of the best to coach at the highest levels of college football. But I really did think that they had enough talent that they really it wouldn't be as noticeable on the field, like the product on the field. I really thought they'd be better. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit this is just not Alabama. I mean, they don't look like Alabama. You put this team against any of Saban's teams, and just the way the plays are being ran. I mean, the on the field, even the off the field, I just doesn't feel like Alabama is still a good program, but they're just not what we were used to. And I don't think Alabama fans are going to be dealing with that really well. I don't think they are already. So we'll see how they close out the season, but definitely going to have a lot of, questions to answer and a lot more pressure on Kalen DeBoer. It felt like after they beat Georgia, it was all good and all great. Man, things could go south real quick. It's crazy.
Yeah, I trust DeBoer long term, but this is a rough first year. I mean, even that Georgia game, they kind of got lucky play late to beat them, and they would have blown a 28-point lead. So just imagine how much worse it could have been there. But yeah, and just some of the blown coverages, this is what you see from some of the bottom feeders in college football, not even the SEC, where it's guys are open by 20 yards. If Nico could hit a pass, Tennessee would have been up by 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 in that first half. So yeah, a lot of weird things we're seeing out of Alabama. It's good to be loose and to be, have fun in your program, but it looks like maybe they're a little too loose and letting the players run wild a little bit with some of the antics that are going on. So, yeah, and it's a lot more pressure in Tuscaloosa than in Washington that he's faced. So it's going to be tough sledding for him the rest of the year.
Real quick on Alabama, because I have to make these comments like this. I am very, very happy that they are dealing with this as a fan and watching them dominate, for decades and the last 5, 10, 15. I could not be more ecstatic to watch them lose. I picked them last week. I thought they were going to win. Nothing personal there with me and Alabama. Very respectable of their program. But as a fan, they deserve it so much, and it's just great to watch. I just have to throw that out there. I'm very happy. And I'm not trying to suck up to any of the Uncle Lou Georgia crowd here. I am just thoroughly happy that Alabama is dealing with what they are. It's about time. All right, Maryland coming back here. I don't know what happened in this game, Jared. We can do this one pretty quick. Maryland down 14, fourth quarter. USC, what a joke. Lincoln Riley below 500. I was kind of defending him last week. Looked like a total idiot this week. I picked them to cover. I guess they traveled cross country, but could not get it done. What happened here? Maryland, big win, stuns USC 29-28.
Yeah, this one I was watching a little early, and USC was controlling, and then I kind of didn't watch, and then I saw they were going in for 2 to make it 6, I think it was, and I was like, okay, maybe, and then they scored a touchdown. I was like, this game was nuts. There was no way I thought USC should have lost this game. We've had a couple of these in college football this year where it's it has to be 99% or something on the meter. There's no way they should lose this game. And yeah, my only thought after, we wanted to shout out Maryland, go Terps in this one, huge win. But yeah, USC, terrible. What is going on now? We lost to Minnesota, Michigan, Michigan does not look good. We lost to Minnesota, and now Maryland, who has a couple bad losses on the year. So you're losing to some really bad Big Ten teams. You're not losing to the top brass anymore. So my only thought after this was Lincoln Riley maybe to the NFL as an offensive coordinator, possibly. I just want to throw that out there just in case it happens in the offseason, because it just looks like he just doesn't want to coach college football and he just wants to be a coordinator because, it's just a mess. I think this season is going way downhill, and I think he might be Might be Lee, might be a little hard takey, but I think he might be doing a little Cliff Kingsbury like his buddy there. Maybe just be a little offensive coordinator, make a lot of money, and don't have to worry about all this college crap. So it's a mess.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't look like Kiffin or that Lincoln Riley's very excited to be there. I like how I just mentioned Kiffin there, talking about a similar vibe down there.
Yeah, true.
In Ole Miss, but USC certainly disappointing at this point. I mean, I know the expectations were a little high after the big win against LSU, but I mean, 3 in a row, Minnesota, Maryland. I mean, come on. I mean, this is an ultimate test. They have Rutgers on a Friday night here in USC. So, I mean, if they lose this thing, you have Rutgers playing 11 p.m. on the East Coast, 11 o'clock at night. If Rutgers is anywhere close to winning this game, I mean, there's going to be some serious problems there in Southern Cal because USC should win this game handily. You have everything going right here. But I don't know. We'll see what they could do. Not good for them.
I mean, the only hope for USC is A, they were leading most of these games, so it's good that you have the lead and you're doing something right. And B, they are very young. They have a really young team, a young offensive line especially. So, but it's hard to keep guys now. If you're losing in a losing program, these guys are going to go elsewhere. So it's hard to get those guys back and, build something there. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on with USC. Are they going to lose a bunch of guys, or are they going to stick around and maybe build some? Because I trust the defensive coaching staff and what they're doing, but Lincoln Riley, I mean, I don't know what's going on with USC. It's just a mess. So crazy.
USC reminds me of Miami, except for USC's losing all their games.
One
possession game after another. They've had control. They've been winning in these games. I think they had a decent lead in each of these games, actually. Michigan, Minnesota, Penn State, and Maryland. And they just seem to blow it late. After Penn State was one thing, like you said, a much better opponent than a Maryland or a Minnesota. Disappointing for USC. Cannot close games. Georgia, big win over the weekend, outlasting Texas and the refs, as you note, Mr. Paisley, in a trash-filled Austin, Texas. Georgia, I don't even know where to start with this game. Obviously, all credit to Georgia. They looked real good. They looked like the Georgia that we're used to, taking down Texas, #1 team. But I know I called you when this happened because I have to point on this as first thing. That call, that holding, pass interference, or whatever, that was overturned 3 minutes after Texas fans trashed the field with Miller Lite and Coors Light all over the field. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I'm only 25. I've watched, a lot of college football in those years. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, maybe anyone listening could, shoot us a DM or a link or an example of when calls have been overturned like that. I mean, this is minutes after a call. And I didn't agree with the call. I didn't think it was a pass interference or anything like that. But just unreal what happened there in Texas. And after that, I mean, it was really all Georgia. They got that one break, but Georgia's dominated this whole game. They looked like they were in control. Just a wild game. Wasn't as thrilling, I don't think, as fans, and I would have hoped. But Georgia looked real good. And biggest takeaway is just whatever happened in that 3-4 minutes with that pass interference call being overturned.
Yeah, thank God Georgia won, because if they didn't, it would have been the talk of the week, the talk of the year. Texas, that would have been crazy if Texas would have won by 7 or whatever the game might have been there. But yeah, I think you got to start there, because that was crazy. You're right. We called each other. We're like, I've never seen anything like this, for them to stop the game for 7 to 10 minutes and then just reverse the call right after they pick up all the trash and tell them to stop. Like, you're just rewarding bad behavior at the end of the day. And it's just crazy to see on a college landscape. And, like we said, I mean, what's going to stop other fan bases from doing it if they want to? I mean, why not?
I'll do it. Yeah.
Throw some trash on the field at Happy Valley next time you're there. Maybe they'll get a call reversed. And someone else pointed out, they made a good point. Like, this wasn't a recovery of a fumble or a touchdown or not touchdown. This was a subjective call, like a very opinionated, 50% call. So it's not even like it was a touchdown. He clearly crossed the goal line. They called it back. So just another crazy thing to think about. But it's a pass interference call that's not reviewable.
Right. It's
not determined. Like, you're not going to get 100%. Yeah, that was pass interference or not. So yeah, just unbelievably crazy. But good for Georgia. They stuck to with their game plan, won the game. their defense just dominated Texas. I think they really exposed Texas' offense. I misread the game. I thought it'd be the opposite, where Georgia's offense would actually expose the Texas defense. And they didn't really. Georgia had a lot of short fields, and I had the over, and they had a lot of field goals that could have been touchdowns, and they could have blown that game out of the water even more in the first half there. And Texas offense just got stifled. I did not expect that. Georgia defense, they looked like they were pissed off. They had some motive. So it was really cool to see the Georgia defense get back on track. But, you could always take away some stuff even in wins. But, yeah, the Georgia offense did not look good. Carson Beck did not look great. So just something to keep in mind. But their defense definitely looked back in form. But, yeah, Texas, that offense has got to get clicking. We'll break down the Vandy game coming up this week. But a lot of questions now with Quinn Ewers. They went to Arch Manning in the second quarter. I thought that was a little reach and a little bit of a panic mode. I get you to spark. I get that. As from a coaching perspective, if it's not working, don't keep run your head into a brick wall, maybe a drive or two right before the half. But, I mean, he kind of looked puzzled, and then it shoots Quinn Ewers' confidence down. So just now every time Quinn Ewers has a bad drive, our Texas people are going to be like, oh, put Arch in. So a lot of messy stuff going on from Texas there. They had all the celebrities pouring into the game, and they didn't really put on a show. So, crazy game start to finish. But Georgia was definitely the clear side and deserved to win that.
Yeah. I did not like them. Whatever was going on with Ewers and taking him out. I don't know if it was a benching or they just wanted to give Arch a couple drives, like you said. But it was just weird to watch. I mean, I just hate that. Like you have a guy like. I hope it was nothing with confidence, because if that's what they're trying to do, and all of a sudden now if he has a few bad drives against Vandy or something, they put Arch in, and I don't know. I just don't think that's healthy for a program at this point of the season, especially going into November. I mean, we're really, I hate to say this, I really do, but we're closing in here on the final games of the regular season. I mean, we only have 6 weeks left. We're over halfway. And the SEC too. That some of these schedules late, they don't even have all conference games. They play I think Alabama has Mercer before all. It's ridiculous. So point is, not a lot of weeks left. And if Texas is still questioning, parts of their offense at this point, I don't want to overreact about Texas. I mean, look, Georgia's really good. I picked Georgia, which is why I flipped the slide here. Georgia plus 4.5. Really like them. Anyway, I don't want to overreact on Texas. I do think they're, top, are possibly 2-3 teams still. Maybe you could even say they're still number one. I mean, if things didn't go their way, I still see power rankings with Ohio State number one. So the point is, I don't want to overreact with Texas. But yeah, I mean, Georgia looked really good. They had a great bounce back by Kirby Smart after what happened there against Alabama, and clearly deserving of a top of the SEC. And we'll see how things shake up. It's going to be an interesting conference. I don't know if a lot of people really saw this happening, but a lot of SEC battles, because you have a lot of one-loss teams now with Texas. Now you have Georgia. Now you got Alabama with 2. Tennessee still in the hunt. Vandy in the hunt. Not going to win it. LSU, I mean, 100%. Tons of SEC games, SEC teams there with a shot. So going to be fun to watch. I think they're definitely better than obviously the Big 12 and the ACC, but it's still same ordeal where you got a bunch of teams still fighting, and it's going to make this playoff race real interesting here coming down the stretch.
Yeah, and just one last note on Arch Manning, how many backup quarterbacks does everybody know in the country? He's the only one. It's so going into the year, that's what I was kind of hesitant. It's if Ewers plays bad or has a bad game or a bad half, people are going to automatically point to Arch Manning and just want that, because they haven't yet to see him on the field in some meaningful football. And
right.
So just something to keep in mind with Texas going forward. That's a rocky situation, especially at the most important position at quarterback. So a little dicey there, but you're right. SEC's up for grabs. Tons of teams still available, and that's what's going to make some of these games really meaningful coming down the stretch here.
I like it. All right, Paisley, my favorite part of the show, winners, losers of the week. Who is your winner of week 8?
My winner, I'm going to do a little two-parter quickly, but I'm going to go the Tennessee defense and also the LSU defense. This is going to be a little bit of a theme just on this pod. I don't know if it's going to happen a lot the rest of the year, but I'm going to heap some praise on LSU and Brian Kelly, which I have not done all year. We'll get to that later on, but I watched both these games in length, especially the LSU one because I had an Arkansas ticket. And I was so impressed with the LSU defense. I mean, on the road, coming up big, they just look so different. It's crazy. They lost one of their best players, Harold Perkins, and now, I think some of these other guys now are playing in his spot and looking a lot better. So just something to keep in mind. We'll break down that game later. But LSU, if they could get that defense rolling, that offense is really good. And I always like the quarterback. I never say anything bad about Nussmeier. I think he's a great quarterback, maybe top 10, maybe top 5 in the country. I really like him. So if LSU get that defense going a little bit, and then just got to give a little shout out to Tennessee too, because this team has been so dreadful on defense the last couple of years. And if they would have had half of this defense when they had Hendon Hooker or some of these other great teams in the past, it could have been really good. So again, like I said last week, you got to kind of switch your mindset, especially on Tennessee, but maybe on some of these other teams where they're not offensive led. It's more on the defense. And this is a lot better than I was expecting on the defensive end for Tennessee for sure. And I'll give props to LSU. I want to see one more game against Texas A&M, but these defenses that I thought were going to be absolute garbage are actually looking like maybe top 25 defenses, which is crazy to say, but we'll see about that. So I give some love to some SEC defenses there.
No, I'm glad you kept in the SEC there, and very impressive at what Tennessee was able to do to the Alabama offense. I mean, we saw what Alabama was able to do more so in the first half against Georgia, but very impressed with Tennessee and how they kind of rebounded, and LSU too. I think I was a little bit higher on LSU this past weekend than you were. I know you liked Arkansas. I don't know. I was a little undecided. Everybody kind of seemed to be on Arkansas, which is why I kind of went to LSU. I just didn't quite grasp that one. And obviously we saw what they did. Great job shutting down Arkansas. So great performances defensively for both of those teams. I'm going to go up to the Big Ten, and I think I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to get every Big Ten team a win at some point. And they haven't had a lot of wins here in College Park, Maryland, but they had one this past weekend, 29-28. We all know Lincoln Riley could not get the win on the East Coast. Absolute disgrace program that he's running out there right now. But Maryland, tough kind of start. Lost to Michigan State early. Lost to Indiana. All of a sudden, though, that's a decent loss, not too bad. Northwestern was bad. Yes, it was. But you come back, you beat USC. You're now 4-3. They have a chance this weekend on the road against Minnesota to maybe get another win. Not sure that'll happen. But the main driving force of this pick is just seeing those fans rush the field at Maryland, because, we saw it at Tennessee. We see it at some of these other big schools. We, can't really remember the last time Maryland did it. They probably did last year. They probably do it every time they win a game, frankly, but I don't really see it. So good for them. It was cool to see them finally get something to go their way this season. Might be worse on Lincoln Riley than it is really on Maryland looking good, but impressive fourth quarter comeback. Got to give them a lot of credit. Hang in there and get the win. So credit to the Terrapins, Maryland.
Go Terps, go Turtles. Just quick shout out to the coach going for 2, doing the old the new analytical, I should say. When you're down 14, go for 2, got it. Went down 6, got another touchdown, kicked the extra point for the win, worked out beautifully. So for the math nerds out there, that was nice to see for them getting a nice win as well. Yeah. I'm going to stay in the Big Ten, actually. My loser, like I told you, Case, before the show, I had a lot to choose from, but this team might have pissed me off the most. I'm going to go with the Michigan Wolverines and their entire program, and mostly Sherrone Moore. This guy is a joke. I mean, this guy is an absolute joke. You finally come back off of a bye against Illinois and put up 7 points on that lousy defense. You make the quarterback change. I mean, he tried 4 quarterbacks this year, and none of them worked. How do you not have one quarterback that could at least produce double-digit points in a game? They can't run the ball. Their defense, that was supposed to be this all-world defense, is terrible, and it's just a bunch of stars that are not playing hard. So I don't know what's going on there. I mean, their D-line was supposed to be ferocious and get a lot of sacks, and they had 1 sack or no sacks against Illinois. It was a terrible offensive line. So just really thought Michigan was going to be in a nice bounce-back spot there, get them back on the map. But I mean, I think this is a bad look for not just this week and this season, but it could be going forward long term. I mean, this might be a 4, 5, maybe 6 loss team by the end of the year. I mean, they're going to start losing recruits. I think this Michigan brand, I mean, it was great what Harbaugh did, but, oh, God, he's leaving them in shambles right now. I mean, this program is not looking good. I don't see them turning it around. Like, I don't know who you'd have more faith in, Lincoln Riley or Sherrone Moore in Michigan to turn that program around. I don't know. I'd honestly maybe lean Lincoln Riley. Like, I think Michigan's in for a rough couple of years here until they get it on track, or maybe get a new coach. I think he just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, well, couldn't agree more there on Michigan. I think they were one of my early picks of the season, maybe week 2 after they got blown out by Texas was the first sign there for Michigan. And yeah, we see it week in and week out, and they just haven't lived up to their expectations. They haven't been playing great. Their defense is not good. And look, I hate the saying, like you brought it up too, about they have all these 4 or 5 stars. Oh yeah, they're just not playing together as a team, but the talent's there. What does that mean? The talent's there. If the talent's there, then what's the problem? Get a decent coach.
I'm coaching at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's coaching. It's everything. The culture, whatever's going on there. Similar to Alabama, I'm happy to see it because what a despicable program they are and horrible. But anyway, yeah, it's great. Jerome Moore, disaster. He'll be gone. I mean, I'm not even worried. A couple of years. He's worse than Brady Hoke. He's worse than any recent Michigan head football coach. So he'll be gone in a couple of years, and they won't be relevant for a while, which is nice. It's good to see Illinois get the win, so credit to them. But yeah, Michigan, total loser. Jared, great pick.
Thank you. Who would have thought they'd want Brady Hoke back? That's crazy. But I'm with you. I think he might be better right now. Bring him back.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Paisley, I got a quick question for you on this one.
Oh, here we go. Another slideshow. I love it.
For those listening, I'm showing a slide of a cornfield, Mr. Paisley. Any idea where I'm going with this?
Are we going to go to the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Nope, but their next door neighbor, the Cornhuskers of Nebraska, although Iowa would be a great pick too.
I know.
I could bundle this one, but more so, I'm going to leave Iowa alone for now.
I like Nebraska. That's going.
Blown out, Jared. I mean, look, I know they only have 2 losses. They have one, loss now to Indiana, one loss to Illinois early, which Illinois is looking good. But this past weekend, 56-7. I mean, come on. Like, I don't care who you are. It's still Indiana at the end of the day. Nebraska had a lot of more expectations than usual. Indiana is kind of like what I thought Nebraska could have been this year. Nebraska has that game against Ohio State this weekend. I thought Nebraska could be that overrated 7-0 team. Instead, Indiana's right there. So total, this is to that farmer out there in the cornfield watching Nebraska. Unfortunately, you are my loser of the week, but not really you personally, more just your whole football team out there. Just seems like it's year in, year out. Nebraska just fails to live up to their expectations, and disappointing. I'm very disappointed. I'm saddened for the state of their program once again.
And you want to talk about some star players? Like, they got some nice pieces, and especially at the quarterback, they got the best player in the nation going into this year. I know he's a freshman. It's hard to put a lot of responsibility on him, but that offense is doing nothing all year. It's not even just this game. So got a question. I mean, they stole him away from Ohio State and Georgia, and now he's putting up 7 points a game. Like, that's a tough look. And and Matt Rule, defensive head coach. Oh God, 56 points. That was not a good showing.
Not good for Matt Rule. Anyway, all right, going overtime here. Week 9 preview. Try to get this rolling here. Already week 9, crazy. Tons of games. Great slate. We'll get to all of them that are great. Boise State at UNLV. This week, I know we've had some comments in the chats about Boise State. Group of 5, looking for that college football playoff appearance as a group of 5. Going to UNLV, kind of a tough spot. UNLV's been pretty good this year. This one's late night, 10:30 p.m. Boise State laying 3. Jared, what are your thoughts on this one? Is this a Friday night game?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Friday, 10:30, standalone game. I think this is actually very similar to the matchup we saw last year. I know some things are a little bit different, but I think Boise State's kind of the same. UNLV's got a different quarterback. We talked about the quarterback leaving for NIL deals. Their starting quarterback, but I think the backup's a little better, like we talked about. So, yeah, UNLV's got some firepower. Maybe look to an over in this game as well. I think both teams could put up some points. Boise State could get after the passer a little bit, but their back end's a little susceptible. So if UNLV could score in this one, I think Boise's going to get their points. So if you're looking at an over, you should UNLV to get theirs, which I think they could. But I'm going to lean more Boise State in this one. I just think, they've been coasting a little more. UNLV's had to play some tough games against Syracuse, against Kansas earlier in the week. They've had some closer games, and they're not as deep as Boise State. So they've had a lot of mileage on some of their bodies. So I think they got a nice spot at home here, but I think Boise State gets them here. They have a little trouble stopping the run UNLV, which is definitely a concern going up against Genty. So if they load the box and make the quarterback throw from Boise State, that could be a recipe for success for UNLV. But I still trust Boise State's offense to get that ground game going. I think they had over 300 yards rushing last year in the matchup, so they won by 20 or 25. So I don't know if it's going to be that much a lopsided victory like in the Mountain West Championship last year, but I think Boise could cover this short number at -3 right now. This started off, they basically had a pick from early in the week and it moved up. So just keep in mind some of the line movements and trends going on. But I'll take Boise here in the over.
Yeah, totally agree with Boise here. I like them a lot. I think they could cover for sure. Boise State laying 3 against UNLV. A tough one. Friday night, anything could happen in those Friday games, but I think they have the best player in the country. They're real good, only laying 3. So I would agree with you there. On the next one here, we got a ranked matchup between the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, Mr. Paisley, bouncing back. Don't have Northern Illinois on the schedule here this week, which is great for them. But they do have a ranked opponent, Navy, 24th ranked, MetLife Stadium, little neutral site action on the East Coast should be good. Game at noon. We've been talking about Army and Navy a lot. You brought them up a couple weeks ago. Great call there. And here the Irish laying 13. You're the Notre Dame expert. What do you think happens in this one?
Yeah, I think, you got to start on the Notre Dame side. I think they've been quietly winning a lot of games and covering by margin in some of these games. They covered the last 3 games. So against some decent teams, against Stanford, Georgia Tech last week, defense looked pretty good. I think that's where you got to start. The defense looks really good. They're getting better each week. But now they got a different test and a triple option hybrid type team. They don't run a traditional triple option. They pass it a lot more against Navy. I like Army more than Navy, just a sidebar for down the road. So I think Army could give Notre Dame a little bit of a tougher test. I think Navy could put up some points here relative to, the spread here. I did take Navy, but as I look into it a little bit more, I'm a little more hesitant in that pick. I don't love Navy because of their defense. I honestly think Notre Dame's going to be able to move the ball a lot. I think they're going to have a nice stay on the ground, which is what Notre Dame really provides. I think Leonard's legs are a huge difference maker when you have the threat of him running. Jeremiah Love's turned into a great back in the whole country with some of the stats he's putting up. They got a nice backup running back. The offensive line starting to lean forward a little bit. So if Notre Dame could get their ground game going, which I think they shouldn't have problem putting up points, which is why I'm a little afraid of Navy staying in this number just because of how good Notre Dame's defense has been playing. But if Navy could keep the ball away from Notre Dame, kind of create really long drives like NIU did, I think they could stay within this number. But if this game gets out of hand early, it's going to be tough for Navy to stay within the number here. So I still like my 13 with Navy. And then I'm actually going to look to the over, which is weird to say in an armed forces game, but especially in the first half, I would actually look first half over in this one because of Navy's quirky offense. It is kind of hard to stop. And because of watching a lot of Notre Dame games, they play really good in the second half. Their D coordinator is really good, making adjustments at halftime. He's a really bright mind. So I think they'll make some adjustments at halftime, maybe, that'll help them in the second half. But I think Navy could put up a couple points early. I think Notre Dame's run game and their offense shouldn't have a problem the whole game. So I think the first half over is it's under 28. So if you get it under 28, I think both teams could put up 4 touchdowns total. So give me the first half over and then a little chunk on Navy plus the 13 to keep this close here. But I think Notre Dame wins it overall. I think Notre Dame wins the game outright.
Great points you made. I agree. It's going to be tough for Navy to keep it close or to get back in it if things go south quick. Obviously, they're not a quick scoring team, and it's always tough for some of the armed forces teams, it seems, to score quickly, and I don't think they could handle deficit well. I probably would lean Notre Dame here and lay the points. I don't love them as much as I did this past week and the weeks before when I picked Notre Dame, but I would still lean Notre Dame laying the points. I haven't seen enough Navy yet, and this will probably be my first real game where I'm watching pretty much 60 minutes of it just against Notre Dame, and it'll give me a good idea really of them and what their group of 5 chances are too. But yeah, Notre Dame, Navy will be a fun game to watch. Ranked matchup, which who would have thought there, Navy here sitting at this point of the season, and obviously all credit to Army as well, and how they've been this year. So that one is noon on Saturday, Notre Dame, Navy.
Yeah, just two more quick points. One, these matchups have been high scoring. Watching a lot of Notre Dame and Navy games, if you look back the last 10 years, it is weird. I was there in person 2 years ago in Baltimore to watch it, and it was like 30-30 at the end of the game. So these matchups too tend to be a little bit higher scoring. And Navy, the strength of schedule difference is pretty crazy, and that's just what I couldn't get over. Navy has played, if you look at their schedule, a lot of terrible opponents, and Notre Dame actually has had some good tests along the way. So that might be something that might shock Navy here in this game that I was a little afraid of. I would have liked to play more with Navy plus 13, but their schedule was really weak, and Notre Dame played a lot of tougher opponents. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Another interesting team that's ranked here at this point in the season, number 20, Illinois. Big win against Michigan last week, going to Oregon in a Big Ten showdown. I think I got that right. I think it's on CBS, back-to-back CBS game of the weeks for Illinois. Big win against Michigan last week. Oregon, number one team in the ranking after defeating Ohio State and after watching Texas fall to Georgia this past week. I'll just say it bluntly. I love Oregon here. I really do. I just think it's one of those situations where, the team is, you're kind of, 21 points is kind of a lot. And Oregon struggled kind of early in the season against Boise, but things just kind of are starting to click. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that Oregon is just going to throttle them. I think they're going to be scoring at will. I think they're going to overcome that Illinois defense. And I just find that Illinois is going to try to, they're not going to be able to do what they did to Michigan and Oregon. It's going to be tough for them to score. I felt like Penn State could have gotten away more from Illinois than they did, and I just think Oregon's going to be able to do it. So give me Oregon in this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually have a play on the total in this one. I kind of like the over digging into this matchup a little more. I think Oregon's offense, like you said, is going to dominate. I think Illinois is a little overrated with some of the point spreads, like you said, against Penn State and some other games where, they're covering or looking good or have the wins, but I don't think they're that great of a team. And I actually did have Illinois on Sunday night. I placed it 21.5, and I just cashed it out this morning because I was so scared of the Oregon Ducks. So I'm off that. Now on the over, I think Oregon's going to score a ton of points. I think Illinois is going to have to be forced to throw the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to run it. So I think they'll be able to backdoor this and get a couple points. But I'm with you. I think Oregon should be in a slam spot here. I think that it should go over the total and Oregon to cover.
Yeah. And in my heart, I will be rooting for Illinois for that 11-1 scenario times 5. But I just think Oregon's going to be too much for them. It's going to be an interesting game to watch just from a fan perspective on TV. I mean, Illinois and Oregon and Eugene in October. I mean, this conference realignment, I don't know. I might have to go to therapy for it because it still isn't registering right in my head. But Illinois at Oregon, Saturday, CBS 3:30. We'll see what happens, but I'll take the Ducks laying the 21.
No, that was a huge win for the Illinois program in general against Michigan. So we know Michigan's down, but it's still a big win from that. You got to travel on the road, so tough spot for the Illini.
It is a tough spot going across country or half the country. I mean, that's not easy to do. And Oregon, I think they're trying to, number one team. I feel like we're finally going to get a number one of fighting here, and I don't expect Oregon to fall in this one. So crazy, but we'll see what happens. Illinois, Oregon. We got Missouri going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, coming off of their loss to Tennessee. Missouri, who is preseason ranked really high, has not lived up to those expectations. Alabama, similar to Oregon, pretty heavy favorite here, 16.5, 17 points. I'll just say it again. I actually like Alabama, but I don't think I love them as much as I like Oregon. But we'll see if Alabama could bounce back. Missouri hasn't looked great. The total in this one's 51. This one also 3:30.
Yeah, this one moved a lot this morning. Actually, we were typing this up. It was around 14 for the spread, up to 17. And I actually got it at 56 on the under. I kind of like the under in this one, now down to 51. So I checked, and Brady Cook, the Missouri quarterback's questionable now to play, which I think in these line moves would suggest he's not playing. And if you watch that game against Auburn, which I had an Auburn ticket, their backup is Drew Pine, who is from Notre Dame and is terrible. He's like 8th year in college. I don't know how he's the backup. I don't know if they'll probably go to the third string, honestly, because he was that bad. So just be a little careful with this one. This one's a little weird now because of the news that just broke this morning before we recorded. So, but yeah, I still like the under, maybe at 51, but yeah, this one's a tough one now to gauge with the backup. But you don't want to be laying a huge number with Alabama that their offense is clunky. But could this be the game to get back on track? Maybe. But yeah, weird game here.
Yeah. I feel like it's just I feel like the public money will be on Missouri, and I know I'm doing the old reverse, psychology, trying to overthink things, but I don't know. It's been working at times, and I just feel like it's a lot of points, but I don't know. I just don't think Missouri's in any position to keep this one close, especially under those circumstances. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't know. I'll take Alabama laying the points there.
Yeah, if Missouri doesn't have Brady Cook, he's so vital to that offense after watching that Auburn game. So if he's not out there, I don't know how they're going to score points. You might just need Alabama to score 20 or 24, honestly, to cover it. So
yeah, that's interesting. Quick side note: that was an awful game, Missouri and Auburn. Terrible.
Yeah, crazy. Auburn, too. What is going on there? They're losing a lot of heartbreakers. But
wish we had time for them, but man, yeah. Well, maybe they'll be my loser of the season at the end of the year.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, no, we're approaching the hour already. Number 25, Vanderbilt. Probably will never say that again because they're going to get steamrolled by Texas this week. Texas is coming to town, and they'll probably never be ranked, remember, the remainder of this year and probably in the next 5 to 10 years. But all credit to Vanderbilt. They're ranked. They have a ranked versus ranked matchup. They have Texas coming to town. Longhorns laying 19 after the big loss. I don't know how to feel. I mean, it's weird. Like Vanderbilt, I do think they're good. They're above average college football team this year, but I think Texas is just going to be too much for them. Texas might be looking to get out their anger too on a team, which kind of scares me a little bit for Vanderbilt. But I'd love to see this game closer than the spread, but we'll see. Texas, Vandy, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go back to the well and take Vandy in a big underdog spot. We broke this down a couple of times, especially in the Alabama week, but I think they're the perfect team when you need a lot of points to stay within the number. I wish it was a little higher, but I'll take it at 19 with the Vanderbilt. Keep it close at home here. I think they're getting Texas in a good spot. Got a little beat up against Georgia. They lost a couple guys on defense, Texas did. So I think Vanderbilt could do the same things they did to Alabama and kind of keep away. If they could run the ball, get a couple first downs in the first half and keep this game close, this will be a huge I think they cover this number easily. The only fear, like you said, is Texas looking to let out a little anger. I think Vanderbilt's defense does scare me against Texas' offense. I think Texas could be due here for a lot of points. But I have faith in Diego Pavia, the quarterback, and what they're doing on the offensive side for Vanderbilt to shrink the game down, use the whole play clock, play keep away, and cover this number. I don't know if they're going to win outright. I'm not calling outright like against Alabama, but I think they'll cover this number at 19 here.
Well, keep that in mind. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have enough faith in the Vanderbilt. I mean, I don't know. Their offense, I guess, has shown to be able to score, but I don't know. This is going to be an interesting spot here. Texas coming off of a loss, but big opportunity for Vanderbilt, and they could score points. I mean, they've done it against every opponent so far. We saw what happened in that Alabama game. So I guess I wouldn't be stunned here, but I don't know if I'll play it on my card. Things could change. Check it out Saturday morning on the page. But, yeah, it will be interesting. Texas, Vandy, not sure I have a play at the moment, but I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Paisley, there on the Vanderbilt team.
I'm riding with them till we fall off, baby. Let's go Vanderbilt.
Michigan State, Michigan, also Saturday night. We got 3 primetime games we'll go through here pretty quick. Michigan been totally disgraceful this year, but they're hosting Michigan State, a rivalry game in state. Under the lights there in Ann Arbor. Michigan State's kind of been a little bit better than people thought this year. They've been kind of competitive in some games that people didn't think they would. Getting 3.5 against Michigan. I don't know. I might lean Sparty in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, give me Michigan State. I'll take them. It was 5.5, now down to 3.5. I might just fade Michigan the rest of the year. Like I wasted so much time on Saturday watching that game against Illinois and just expecting a different result. Yeah. Broke them down the loser section if you want to get more ammo on Michigan there, but I just think they're terrible. They shouldn't be giving points. I mean, you guys look at this team differently. I just think they're bad. now watch they come out and have the best game of their lives. But I
They
just think
probably will.
the program's in disarray. And like you said, Sparty's playing pretty good. And we called at the beginning of the year. We said we like their head coach, we like their quarterback, but it's going to take time. Now we're starting to have some time underneath their belt, and they're starting to play pretty good. Beat Iowa pretty soundly by double digits there at home. So I think they're rolling here. Give me Sparty to upset in a big rivalry game here.
Shout out to Iowa and their corn agriculture. Always great. Thank you for providing food around the country. But yeah, tough one for them as well for Iowa. But yeah, I like a couple things. I mean, I like Michigan State. I think they're playing pretty good. Michigan, obviously, complete opposite. They have not led up to the expectations, laying 3.5. How about this total? Only 40. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, what am I watching? Like Bears versus Browns? I mean, this is pretty crazy. But no, 40 is the total on this one in Ann Arbor under the lights. Not sure. Lean Michigan State. Not sure I love it, but definitely would look at Michigan State. I don't think I would look at Michigan at all in this one. Okay, moving on. Big Ten. Also, Penn State going to Madison, Wisconsin. Jared, this game scares me. I don't know why. I don't like it. I don't have a great feeling about it. I really don't. This line's only 6.5. I mean,
It's weird.
I've seen Penn State drop the ball in times of my life when they're ranked number 3. They lost to Iowa when they were ranked number 3 in 2008 to an unranked Iowa on the road. Ruined the national championship hopes that year. I don't know. I want to say what I said pre-USC, and I want to say that I have faith in Franklin. Again, I'm ready for this game, prime time. They haven't played in prime time against Wisconsin since the Big Ten championship game 8 years ago. But I don't know. The spread's a little low. Wisconsin's playing pretty good football right now, and Penn State has Ohio State right on the horizon. That's all I'm hearing about. I'm hearing about Penn State, Ohio State, but let's not forget about Wisconsin, Jared. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this one's a tough one. You got to start with the number. I just thought it's crazy to think where this number, I think even before the game started last week, I texted you, and it was 10.5. I was seeing on some of the books that put out numbers a week ahead, now down to 6.5. Like, I think the Wisconsin hype, is it true? We'll find out Saturday. They're playing some good ball, but I was a big seller of this team at the beginning of the year. It was looking really good. This backup that looked atrocious against Alabama now was a tough spot. Had to come in, couldn't really throw the forward pass. He's slinging around. The run game's going. They're throwing some trick plays in there, looking crazy. Defense is playing really good, which we knew the defense was going to be pretty solid all the time at Wisconsin. They usually have good defenses. Game gets moved to 7:30 that you mentioned to me. So this is setting up, like you said, all signs point in Wisconsin. But, I mean, Penn State's coming off a bye. I mean, the last time we saw them was against USC in the second half where the offense was looking good. Penn State is such a weird team for me to look at, especially this year, because of how unique and weird this offense is. Like, it's hard to – because they run so many weird patterns and formations and hours throwing the ball some of the times. Other times it's that Warren. Other times it's a running back. Like, this team is so hard to gauge. Like, if these quirky plays are working – they're tough to beat because how do you prepare for that? Like, it's so hard to prepare for all these weird things they're going to do to you in formations, which is really cool. But if they're not and the gimmicks aren't working, then, yeah, it could come crashing down. I think the Penn State defense is a touch overrated, but are they going to show up in this spot? This will be a nice spot to see if they will play good here on the road here. Didn't look good in the first half against USC. Looked really good in the second half, shutting down Miller Moss. So this is a tough one for me. I want to take Wisconsin just because – like you said, when it's almost too obvious and signs are pointing all in one direction, I feel like this could be, Penn State looking good. And it's like, why did I take Wisconsin at that short number? So I might look to an under here. I'm going to see what the market does. I might look to an under. I think this could be a little choppy game. I think defenses could reign supreme here. And I think 48. I wish it was a little higher, but I might take an under and stay away from the spread here.
Yeah, I think I'll stay away from the spread. I just don't love it one way or the other. I would not be absolutely stunned here if Wisconsin keeps this game close. I mean, I've seen multiple Penn State blunders here where we're back and forth in a game like this. So I don't know. I'll probably stay away. Total at 48. Another interesting line there. It's not it's about in the middle. I mean, it's what we'd think. Wisconsin, to the point the hype could be overrated. They're coming off of 3 wins against Purdue, Rutgers, and Northwestern. Yeah, so this isn't very impressive. Yeah. They did win. I mean, they won soundly in those games, but still, I mean, and nothing unreal. Penn State is tested. I mean, they had to go to Southern Cal. They had to go. I mean, West Virginia is a fucking joke, but I mean, they did beat them. So we'll, I guess we'll take them there on the road, a decent win. But yeah, this line 6.5. I don't know. I'll stay away, but I don't know. It does worry me a little. Under lights going to Wisconsin. I have a bad taste in my mouth about it, but I might just be looking forward also to Ohio State more. That they just got to get through this game to stay unbeaten going into Ohio State. But we'll see. That one primetime CBS 7:30 on Saturday.
And that State at 6.5, which is kind of surprising. I thought maybe we'd see some Penn State money get it up over 7. So keep an eye on that. But can I throw out this scenario for you? Can Penn State lose this week and then beat Ohio State next week? I feel like I could kind of see that scenario.
I don't think
the way college football is going this year.
The way college football, I see that point, but I don't think it's possible for Penn State to beat Ohio State. So I think that's just not a possibility until I see it. Now, we do have Crying Ryan on the sidelines, which I love, but I don't think it's about him. I just feel like it's something where, James Franklin just can't beat Ohio. It's just impossible,
It's a mental block.
It's just it's a thing from God. Like you just something's like, Jared, I can't just go outside and fly to the moon. But James Franklin, he can't beat Ohio State. Same thing. It's just some things don't work. So I don't think that's a possibility, but I would be thrilled to see it. I mean, I don't want to lose this week, but that would be pretty hilarious if it did.
It would be the most interesting game, I think, on the board is Penn State, Wisconsin, because a lot of question marks. Can't wait to see that one.
It is interesting. They better win, but maybe they won't. Who cares? The sun will rise either way. SEC, LSU going to Texas A&M. I think there's one team in the SEC without a loss in conference, right? And is that Texas A&M? LSU, Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I might be actually not. I'm like 99% sure because I thought Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, right?
LSU was a loss actually because their loss is to USC, and I think they only have one loss. So I think they're undefeated too. Okay, so wow, that's actually crazy now. LSU, A&M fighting it out for the SEC. You're right. Yeah, that is true. Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a good game. What do you think of that one? A&M a slight 2.5-point favorite, prime time, probably the game of the week. Between these two, so it's going to be a thriller there in College Station.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Going to be cool to see a lot of nice primetime matchups here. I said it earlier in the show. I'm going to heap praise on Brian Kelly and LSU. I'm taking LSU. I think for the first time all year, I got it at plus 3.5 early in the week. Now down to 2.5. But I just like the matchup in this spot. I think their offense could really hum here against the secondary from Texas A&M. That's not great. Their strength is the D line. LSU's run game's been getting going a little bit, but I think they're going to be able to chuck it. They might have to chuck it 50 times, which I'm okay with that with Nussmeier and what they're doing over there. So I think this offensive line is actually pretty good for LSU that we highlighted early in the year. That was a strength, so I think they can maybe negate the Texas D-line a little bit. Just a tough matchup for Texas A&M. And on the other side, like I said, I was really impressed with LSU's defense. And, I know it was Arkansas, and Arkansas is not that great. I don't know why I picked them, but I was just impressed just from a schematical, just flying around, making tackles. It just looked like a better defense. And I think they would play good against any offense they would have played last week. So I think they could do enough. I think Connor Wigman, for all the praise we gave him after that Missouri win, did not look good against Mississippi State. I actually had Mississippi State in that game. So he is so hit or miss. And he only had one hit game this whole year. A lot were the miss, like against Notre Dame and against Mississippi State and Florida. So I just don't like what I'm seeing out of the Texas A&M offense. I think LSU has some nice advantages on the Texas A&M defense. It's a tough crowd, tough place to play. LSU played a lot of tough games here, but I think they're starting to hit their stride a little bit. So can't believe I'm saying it, but give me LSU to get a big road win at Kyle Field.
Wow. That's a big statement. I did not have you picking Brian Kelly's led LSU Tigers winning this game. I don't know. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I mean, the line is close. This is almost a pick'em game. A&M's at home, so I think that's helping their cover or their spread here. Their line 2.5. I don't know. It's hard for me to pick against Texas A&M in this spot under the lights. at home. They have been playing really good, obviously, in the last few weeks. Look like a completely different team than they did against Notre Dame, but so does LSU. I mean, they also look like a different team when they lost to Lincoln Riley's USC. So we'll see in this one. I don't know. I don't know. I like A&M, but 2.5. I mean, I don't know if I love laying any points. It feels like a pick'em game. I probably lean Texas A&M, but I don't have a play on this one. It's going to be fun to watch, though. I wish it wasn't at the same time of the Penn State, Wisconsin, but I'll definitely be watching that split screen to catch that one. Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, put it on the multi-view. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Got the multi-view on YouTube TV. No sponsorship.
No sponsor.
But great feature. Really is. I mean, I can't praise that enough. It's been great watching multiple games at once. Okay, hour 10. We'll try to go quick. Week 9 bets, the moment everybody has been waiting for. Mr. Paisley, what are some of your picks here leading into week 9 here?
Yeah, my first official one, I'm going to go Boise State -3. Just love the Broncos here. I think they'll get it done on their way to a Mountain West championship appearance, which they'll probably play UNLV again. But I think Boise State gets the best of them here. We broke it down earlier if you want to timestamp it above to look back. But give me Boise State -3.
Great shout out on the timestamps there. We work hard with that every week. Yeah, mine's also a game we talked about. Give me Oregon, laying 21. I think they're going to steamroll Illinois. I like Illinois. I think Bielema has done a good job. They're fun to watch this year. I'm glad they're kind of in the mix of things again. But I think you have Oregon at a bad time. I think Oregon's going to roll. I don't see Illinois being able to keep this one close. If I'm wrong, I hope Illinois wins outright, but I don't think that's going to happen. Give me the Ducks -21.
I like it. I'm going to go to another big matchup that almost made the preview just on the cutting room floor, UCF and BYU. I'm going to take the unranked team giving 2.5, UCF. Give me the home team here. This is a tough one. I mean, this is a big game for UCF and for BYU. Like we said, BYU's got to keep winning here to keep their playoff hopes alive and Big 12 aspirations. But I think you got to look at UCF a little bit differently. They had some crushing losses to Colorado and Florida, but they are not that team anymore. They made a quarterback change, went to a backup who's a little more mobile, a little more athletic, and they should have won that game outright against Iowa State. That might have been a game not a lot of people were watching late at night there. And Iowa State's a pretty good team, and they almost went in there and beat them outright as close to 2 touchdown underdogs. So UCF, I think, has really turned the page here. I think they are a completely different team. I think BYU is getting a little lucky in their box score. They're winning these games by margin and covering, but a lot of pick sixes, a lot of fumble recoveries, a lot of turnovers that are going their way. So I just think it's a little fluky from BYU. They do have trouble stopping the run. That's their one Achilles heel. UCF's one of the best running teams in the country, especially now with the quarterback that's more mobile than KJ Jefferson. So I think these running backs could eat a little bit in this game. So weird that we're seeing UCF be the favorite. This did flip. It was BYU -2.5. Now it's UCF -2.5. So I'll take UCF here as a short favorite to beat BYU and put a little spoil on their season here.
Yeah, UCF Iowa State. That was a heck of a game this past weekend. Almost looked like Iowa State was going down, but they did survive. And yeah, that was a good game to watch. We'll see what happens with UCF BYU this week. I'm taking Alabama laying 16.5. Talked about it earlier. I think that's too many points, but that's why I'm going to take it because I just think that it's too many. Alabama was going to roll here. No pun intended on that. I can't believe I said that. Roll Tide. Anyway, I think Missouri is just not prepared. I think Missouri hasn't been good this season. Who knows, like you said, with their personnel in this game. So give me the Tide laying 16.5.
Yeah, and if Brady Cook does play, it's an ankle injury, and he did not look 100%. So if he gets one bad hit, he's going to not be 100% going into the game. So, yeah, kind of like that one. I like Bama there. My third one, I'm going to go to North Texas and Tulane over 67. A little high number here, but North Texas, underrated a little bit, is the best over team, I think, in the country. Not the best team in the country, the best over team betting-wise. They are electric on offense, putting up a ton of points, and their defense is horrendous. They are probably bottom in the metrics in every category. I think their offense could put up a ton of points. Tulane's very explosive on offense themselves. getting a lot of chunk plays and stuff. So I think a lot of North Texas games, if you look at their final scores, are in the 40s, 50s, both teams. So I'm just going to keep riding the North Texas over here and making an official play against Tulane over 67.
Wow, over 67. Yeah, I'm looking now. 80 points combined with Texas Tech, 60 with Wyoming, 70 with Tulsa, 41 points against FAU. That total is like up over 90. They beat Alabama 52-38. That's like, wow, it's a great call out on North Texas Tulane. I might jump on that one also over 67. I have an over 2 group of or Power 4 team, Miami, Florida State. Although if you want to count Florida State as a Power 4 team, that's up to you. But I like the over here. I think Miami is going to carry most of this weight. I don't know if I love Florida State here being able to score much, but I do think Miami is going to have a bounce back game. I know it was kind of back and forth on them. Miami's close. I think this is one of those situations where maybe they don't throttle Florida State, but maybe Florida State could score, 17 to 21 points, and Miami could carry the rest of the way to get over that 54.5. I don't think it's a ton of points. I think it's somewhere in the middle, and I just think this one, a rivalry game, could be high scoring, not a lot of defense to be played. Miami gave up a lot of points against their last few opponents, so we'll see if Florida State could help out a little bit. But, give me the over, 54.5 in Miami and Florida State.
I like it. If Miami plays the same way they did against Louisville, they could cover it themselves, honestly. So I think they can get it themselves.
Yeah, and if their defense plays the same way too, Florida State could actually score points. So.
Yeah, I think Miami overs are not a bad thing for the rest of the year. Honestly, the team is a good over team to bet, so I like that one. My last pick here in the official picks, we're going to give out a little trashy one like we like to do every week. This is a matchup between 2 1-6 teams. They are both 1-6 on the season. It is Utah State at Wyoming, and we're going to take Wyoming short underdog plus 1.5. Utah State, they might have the worst defense in the country. I think we might have broke them down one time, or I might have mentioned that, or maybe I'm making it up. Utah State is horrendous on defense. If you want to look at another thing, Case, look at all the points that they gave up to teams the last 5 or 6 games. They're giving up 40, 50 plus by themselves. So Wyoming doesn't have a great offense, but I think they could score enough because I think Utah State's defense is that bad. Underrated thing in the betting scope, Case, you probably agree with, is Wyoming is really good at home. Some crazy stuff happens there. In Laramie, I think it's called, their home stadium. So Wyoming got some good juju going at home there. It's a night game. So give me Wyoming here. I'm not sure why they're plus 1.5. So give me them plus 1.5, and let me get them to win outright as go to 2-6.
Love it. Go Wyoming this weekend. I'll definitely be tuning into that one. Okay. Paisley Burger Parlay of the Week. Each week, Mr. Paisley and I will pick a couple underdogs to win outright. We're not supposed to win this every week. These are always plus odds, 400, 500, sometimes 600. We already hit one this season. We lost now a few, so I think we're back about even on the unit. So we need to get another win here soon. Mr. Paisley, who is your underdog team of the week to win?
To win outright, I'm going to go with Michigan State. Give me the Spartans. Laying the short number. Plus 142 over at DraftKings. Again, this has been a theme of me the whole show with Michigan, but I'm selling my stock completely. I really like Michigan State, honestly. I think they're playing some good ball, so I think this number is coming crashing down from the open of 5.5. So give me Michigan State to beat Michigan in the Big House, which I don't know when the last time that happened. Maybe that weird fourth down punt that went awry. That was the last time maybe, but that was a funny game. So give me Michigan State to win this one outright, plus 142.
That was great. Great game. That punt great. There in the Big House. Good watch. 2015. It was almost 10 years ago already.
Wow.
I'm going BYU to survive against UCF. I know you were on UCF, but I don't really care. I think I don't know. I don't really like UCF. I think BYU is not great, but look, they're the underdog here. We just got to escape. And just like TCU has done when they made their national championship run, they escaped. They looked ugly at times. They were able to claw in games. They maybe were down. They came back. Maybe some things went their way. Look, I think BYU is pretty good. I've seen enough with my eye test, that they've been able to score points. They've looked better than I thought they were going to be. UCF's kind of been all over the place. They're 3-4. former Casey Berger loser of the week, UCF. So I'm going to take BYU to survive. I like your points. I think you almost convinced me to make a last-second swap here, but I can't. I'm going to stick to my gut. Give me BYU to win plus 110, almost even. Just need to win. Just got to scrape it out. Give me BYU.
Hey, we got to disagree sometimes. We can't agree on everything. And the best part about that is one of us has to be right. So we will see after the games. This could be a sneaky good game. There's a lot of good games that we broke down, but this is, I think it's midday, maybe 3:30-ish. But It could be a good game to maybe put on the multi-view and one of the screens there. BYU and UCF should be a fun one.
What are the odds on that one, Mr. Paisley?
Yes, so the total odds, we call this together DraftKings, is plus 408. 408, $100 or $108. That's it. We're good. We'll call it this. We had one win last week, one loss. Teams we picked, so let's get both from the win.
I like it. Plus 408 on the parlay, the Paisley Burger parlay of the week. Hopefully we hit it. We'll see what happens. We'll be back next Thursday for a big breakdown of everything that just happened in week 9. And so long from PB Betting.